We have the designers who go through and make sure that the printer can deal with whatever is given to them, and then we market it and do publicity and print it up and take it to ship it, sell it.
Okay. So Found Magazine. Now, what is Found?
Found is a collection of things that people have lost and other people have found. So love notes, to-do lists, angry letters that you wrote to somebody and then they threw on the ground, and then a jogger ran by in the morning and picked it up.
Oh, wow.
So it's very, much of it is very funny. Some of it's sad, some of it's touching, and some of it's all three at once, you know. It's a little glimpse into other people's lives.
Okay.
And some of it's relatable and some of it's not relatable at all, you know. But I think when it comes out about once a year, it's really inconsistent. There's not really any advertising in it. We do a little bit of indie advertising, but it's mostly all funded by cover price. It really behaves more like a book than a magazine.
Okay, so the revenue model is more like a book revenue model. Absolutely. Where you're trying to recover it based on the price. So how much does this thing cost?
$5.
$5?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Always $5.
Okay. Okay.
It says that on the cover. That's why it's always $5.
So this is interesting because I was talking with Elisa Martina at Metro Parent, and she was discussing the different channels that she used, and she essentially uses a free distribution, free controlled is an important word there, distribution. And she essentially makes all of her money off of advertising.
Right.
And she described sort of your method of distribution as a loss leader method of distribution, just designed to accumulate statistics for advertisers. But you're obviously doing something very different here by making money off of the cover price. So how do you do that?
It's really, really hard. It's very difficult. And it doesn't make a whole lot of money.
Okay.
So I think the reason why we're involved in Found is because they were having trouble keeping it in the black on that model. And so we came in to organize things a little bit more and streamline things and renegotiate some of their deals with some of their distributors that we're treating them like a magazine. What we really need to do is get our retailers and our distributors to treat Found like a book and not a magazine. Okay. So we made a couple changes to the actual format of it.
Now,
it's very weird what gets considered a book in a magazine.
I was going to say, how do you get them to think of it as a book, and what does that mean?
It's mostly not saying the word magazine. Okay. That's the biggest thing. You also have to have an ISBN on it instead of UPC, which we put both on everything, so it doesn't matter. And it has to be perfect bound. Found was saddle stitched, which means it has a staple in the spine, right? And it looks more like a fold.
So it's got to have that book binding
look. It can be
look.
Paperback, whatever. It has to have a square binding, which is called perfect bound, and it has to have an ISBN on it. And so, which I mean, both of those things cost us absolutely no more money. So we just, for the first issue that's come out on Quack, although we've been working with them for a while now, the first issue just came out about a month ago. That it was actually all us, and we perfect bound it and put an ISBN on it, just so that, you know, and indie bookstores have always been able to, you know, it's one dude who does all their buying, and you're just like, and he understands. He's like, okay, yeah, this back issues sell, and it behaves like a book, and people treat it like a book, so we're going to treat it like a book. But the bigger chains and the distributors, they don't have that decision-making ability. So if it's a magazine, it's a magazine. We treat it like a magazine, which means it only stays on the shelf for 60 days. Okay. Which for an annual magazine, that honestly our first issue sells as well as the current issue. So there's no reason to not have all 5 issues at your store. Okay, so you could sort of think of it as like a book in volumes in some way. Exactly. It's an anthology. That's what I like to say, the word. We also distribute, we don't publish it, but we distribute this magazine for suicidegirls.com, which is
really?
This, you may be familiar with that website.
Yes, I through boingboing.net. Okay.
So we distribute their magazine, and their magazine which is all, again, no advertising, and it's considerably more expensive, so it's a little bit easier to make the cover price back. But it's we call it an anthology, not a magazine. So we use the word anthology, and it's all just companies have rules and buyers have rules, and oh, it's a magazine, well, it has to go in that pile. Oh, it's not a magazine, okay, we'll treat it like that.
Okay, so one thing you've told me that's a big difference between books and magazines is how long they'll keep it on the shelf. So the magazine's 60 days. The book is. It depends on.
All the dealers have their own rules, but most of them, it's like after 60 days, they tear the cover off and send it back to you if it's a magazine.
Okay.
Or, they send the covers back and what's called an affidavit return.
Okay.
They're assuming, like you said, that you're making all your money on advertising.
Right.
That's the magazine model. It's like the cover price is just to try to cover some costs here and there of printing, maybe, and to assign a value to your magazine. If you're giving it away,
potentially devalues it.
Right. So, that's the way the magazine industry in general looks at cover price. But that, not for us, it's not the case because we don't sell any advertising. So, so it's a book. We just call it a book now.
So when now the other thing I've understood from talking with Lou, actually at Rosenfeld Media, is that when you try and push a book onto the shelves, you're looking at the retailer wanting 55 to 70% of the cover price. Yep.
Well, we do 55. 55 is like the max discount we give.
Okay.
So they're looking at 40 to 55% of the cover price from us.
Okay.
And they will take, if you let them take 70, they will, but we don't.
Okay.
That's part of us going in and renegotiating all those deals that Found used to have. So.
Okay. Well,
although they didn't really have that many that were at 70. They had one that was at 70.
Okay, so 70 is a number observed in the marketplace by you. You managed to push back on that 70.
Well, but I honestly rarely have people even ask for that much. There have been a lot of places that want like 60. But I only know of one place that wanted 70. They actually wanted 75.
Wow. How do you make money if you're selling a book when they're basically getting a markup? That's a markup of 4, okay? Off of you give it to them for a certain price, okay,
right,
which is 1/4 of the price, and then they're going to sell it for 4 times that amount. So
right,
how do you make money off of
They
that?
have a 70% markup. Well, whatever discount you give them is their percentage markup. So if you give them 70% off, they're making a 70% margin, which our minimum margin requirement, like as a general rule as a company, if we can keep an average margin of 70%, we'll make money.
Okay.
If our average margin goes down to we've done projects where we're only making 45 or 50%.
Off of the retail amount?
Just us. We're just talking about us. Our margin. This is how much we spend. This is how much we make.
Okay.
We've done them.
Okay, so this is not related to price. This is related.
I'll consider a project if I think it's going to make 45% margin. I'll consider it, but I don't like it. When I see 90%, that's good.
Little lights go off,
that lets
and you
me do
say
some
go.
more 45s that I want to do, but
Right.
Well, and 45 is fine if we think it's going to sell. It's going to be a crazy successful project. But yeah, as far as the retailers are concerned, if they want 70%, you don't make money.
Okay.
So we don't give 70%.
Okay.
We've never given 70%. But honestly, standard is 50%. That's very standard wholesale rate is 50% discount. And we give that's if you're an indie bookstore and you call us up and you want to buy direct from us, 50%. That's our standard.
I was involved in retail briefly when I was a kid in the 70s, and I did notice the markup of 2 there. I would go out and we would pick up merchandise, and then I said, oh my God, we're selling it for twice as much as we're buying it for.
Yep. But that's the whole business. That's
right.
Since the dawn of merchants, I don't even know, I'm probably terrible words here, but it's markup margin.